So I'm standing in the gated section of what's called San Simeon Village. These were three residential buildings designed by Julia Morgan. That one is called Beach House 1. You can see you are near the port of San Simeon. Large lawn, large eucalyptus trees, very large palm trees. This is Beach House 2. And at the end of the road is Beach House 3. So I'm going to take you on a little walk so you can see this space. A little bit of site analysis. You can begin to see some of your shadow patterns. I've identified all of the plants, which should also give you a sense of how much light there is in each of these areas, and also the soil conditions. The areas of grass are patchy, probably too large, and in many places have poor drainage. I'm walking to the back of Beach House 2. Here we can see the valve box for irrigation. The family uses this space back here for a fire pit. You can see they've got chairs, they've got picnic tables, and a very large lawn once again. So this is the back of the house. Julia Morgan never thought of these places as for entertaining. These are where the ranch managers lived and still live today, with these incredible views that we need to maintain. This grass also is probably too much, and as I walked around in it, it had really poor drainage. So again, here's the back of the house. That's the back door to get out to this entertainment area. There's a soft water canisters that we'll probably want to screen. There's no planting along the foundation of the house per se. And that gate over there opens into the backyard of Beach House 3. So again, long shadows this time of year, mostly full sun. This house doesn't have as many issues of privacy with the backyard, but what they do have are some issues of privacy from this guest cottage, and wanted to have some kind of probably a vegetated screen to separate the homes from where the guests stay. Those are normally the Hearst family that stays there. We'll walk you back towards the front of the house. Pretty spacious drives. The wind doesn't seem to be too bad. The harbor is relatively protected. So some of the concerns usually with beach residences is salt spray and wind, which in the Sunset Western Garden book does have a special section for plants that like that. But based on the plants that I'm identifying that are growing successfully, wind doesn't seem to be an issue. Beach House 2 has a large courtyard space, which you can see over here, going down to the gate. Interestingly, the focus of the walk is on the archway, but not on the doors. So that might be something to think about in terms of redesign of the hardscape. This one is a dry laid flagstone, and the other hardscape here appears to be relatively new. It's concrete with aggregate. Got a very large California pepper tree, and you can see through the whole house to the ocean views in the back. So here is that space. Pretty large for entertaining. We have a mix of more of a cottagey garden with relatively drought tolerant plants. You can see again the adjacency of Beach House 3. This family would probably like to have more privacy, because you can see that if they sit out here in this yard, anybody coming to Sebastian's store or to the winery can see them in this space. So they do feel like it's a little bit of a fishbowl. And let me walk you then over to the third beach house. The grass in the space between the homes is not draining at all. That area over there is completely mush. Probably needs to be taken out and put some more wet plants in its place. And then the space in between the two buildings on the other side of that gate, same issue. It's like walking around in this non-draining lawn. So I'm going to go into the courtyard for the other house. Let's see. Sorry, I just locked it on me. So this is the courtyard for that space. The family here uses it as a safe place for their children to play. Although I was told that there was a rattlesnake in here pretty recently. Large amount of hardscape, relatively narrow planted beds. Probably could maybe cut into some of this hardscape if it felt like it was too much. And you can see that the drainage here, there's no drains in either of the two courtyards, but the houses are built relatively on sand. These very mature camellias give this family privacy that they would like in some of these other gaps. There was a large wisteria in that corner, but it was so heavy that it broke its trellis, and so maybe a camellia in that space instead. The hardscape is interesting with the stone. You can see it creates a path by the way it's laid out to the front door, which has a turreted face to it. And so if we go out of this courtyard, take you around to the side yard, the design is intended to not only be inspired by Julia Morgan, but also be practical for the families that live here. So they've got, again, a lot of grass. And then they've got a dog run over on this area. Here's that exit for, oh, there's another Julia Morgan designed building on the other side. But the driveway can exit that way. There's a creek that's at the base of this steep slope. So, right there are little dogs. So this is the dog run. And what they can see from this house is the parking lot for coming down to the beach at San Simeon State Beach. And this they want to have screened. They don't want to see the parking lot, and they don't want to see the road over here. So some kind of planted screen. This area too, they want to see the pier, they want to see the ocean, but they don't want to see the cars and the people because they feel like it's a bit of a fishbowl. So screening down to that gate where you see the stop sign. And then like the other house, panoramic ocean views. This house has a small deck, 8 feet wide, where the family comes out to sit there. But what they would like is to have more space for entertaining. You can see there's a slight slope on both of these backyards towards the ocean going west. Where we see this gutter is where this family is considering putting in French doors so that the opening for the deck would move from that space over to this area where the gutters are. That would allow them to have a much more smooth transition rather than coming from the kitchen out. It could come from one of the hallways out. So that's what this house looks like. Again, issues with drainage. The lawn stays pretty wet and muddy so that the family doesn't really use it. They do have a fire pit over in this area. I don't know when it was built, but they said that it's too far from the house to really be usable. They'd rather have some kind of barbecue area closer where it'd be more convenient for them. Some of the Hearst Castle tile you can see is embedded into the base of this fire pit. They have a propane tank that's over here too for heat. And then here's the back of this house. So pretty tall next door. You can see shadows. Talked about drainage. You can see the plants. You can see the circulation. You can see the materials. And we'll talk more about the program.